Hey, Tim, how we going? It is Kaz here from In the Trenches with Kaz, and we're here today to put your mind at ease, but also to give you some scaffolding on what you can think about the situation that arises with the saber rattling of China, on whether there is a viable way that they could attack Taiwan. We hear about it all the time. What's more, if it wasn't about the the China East Seas there, what about the Chinese South Seas and below where Australia is? Could they, in fact, attack Australia? Well, they don't need to. As we know, they could buy Australia. But we're going to be talking about these points tonight, and I look forward to any questions you ask. We're completely open-minded. If you have something that you can throw in there that we can rebut, we could look at, and we could extrapolate. If you are interested in geopolitics, this should be a great one for you. A call out to all those that have served, that are currently looking at serving. Great way to create a legacy for you and your family. You know, learn to structure who you are yourself. And also the stability in the future world in the battle against AI. I think there is clear and present danger that our government's already siding with entities and agencies to line their own pockets across the world as it is. So I think there's a greater chance that we could have our country sold out beneath us, which is maybe happening already in Australia. You know, but I do not think the CCP, China, could or even try to take out someone like Taiwan, someone like Australia, and we're going to be talking about that tonight. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are. You know, I've done a lot of information researching in the last 24 hours using many different tools. But I'd be interested to see what your, what your basic gut feeling is. Or are we ignorant to the fact of military capabilities and we just see the population of China and think that is a threat in itself? Even Genghis Khan used to think that. Navy veteran, g'day mate, how you going? We've got Cam, how you going buddy? The bus driver. We've got Navy veteran, take it from my cold dead hands, there you go. You won't need to, there's no threat. Staney, how you going? Evening gentlemen. Kaz thought you postponed till tomorrow. I postponed, I was meant to be on last night, but I postponed till now because I end up getting some late minute Patreon calls that just couldn't wait. And so I took those calls instead. As you know, guys, you support the channels yourself. Everyone there is on Patreon that's with us at the moment. And when it's a pressing matter and I'm doing an unforecast stream, you guys come first. I appreciate you. You know, if you want to go and become a Patreon, become part of the Bat Phone, have one-on-one conversations, you can do it in two different ways. One, on the Bat Phone, go to Patreon, go to the Black Legion, not as a free member. It is the price of a cup of coffee a month. Actually, it's a little bit over because they charge you US. Or go to the Voice of the People as a member, which you'll see down there beside the $sign, and go to the Voice of the People, and you can communicate the way we did with Anton last night, where we had a great time and learned a lot about each other and some things we can't say on here. Right, we asked you as well about do you think China will make a move on Taiwan by the end of 2027, which is what Xi Jinping's perceived date is. And no one said yes, 34% no, maybe another pandemic would be coming first. 33% thought of that, and who knows, it's China after all. 22% said yes, said that. 11% did say yes. All right, well, maybe you'll change your mind after tonight. Me, myself, and I retracted comment. I wonder what that was going to be. Nicky Jerd, there you go, another Patreon member. G'day, Kaz and chat. All bunkered down, waiting on this cyclone. I haven't heard about it. I don't watch much of the mainstream media, mate. Appreciate the positive outlook on this issue. I think we should be mentally prepared for what might happen if it does. Well, lucky there, me, myself, and I, by looking at the research and doubling down on that research, plus my my military education on capabilities, etc., I don't even think it's possible that it can occur. Could they try? Absolutely. But we saw the dangers with Russia rolling into Ukraine. You know, the pressures that's it. Could Ukraine get defeated in one day by Russia? Probably. But they'd be using total war, and that would be for the destruction of Ukraine. Okay, they're not after. They've put gloves on. There is no way they've savaged Ukraine like they could because they want it intact. It is the breadbasket of Europe. Okay, there is minerals there. There is things they want from the Ukraine. It is mostly on the western side of the Dnipro River now. But Taiwan, they need it intact. And to take Taiwan intact when you've got 24 million people and they've also got more in their military than what China can land there, you know, and it's already set up for defences, plus you've got to picture who's with them, you know, you're not just fighting Taiwan by itself. And we'll get into that first to lay the parameters, but I'd love for you guys to have what your opinion is or what your say is, thoughts or fears, so we can actually look into that and not discredit or discount you straight away. I don't think there is no threat at the moment, okay, especially because, you know, the Republican Party's in the USA, and I don't think they're going to allow that to happen either. And I think that, you know, Xi Jinping knows, you know, not to stuff around while the dragon is awake. I don't think China has the amount of people they say they have, neither do I. They've also got one of the oldest average ages in their country too. They're being far eclipsed by the youth of India, which are swarming across the world like locusts. I think it's more like 400 million. I reckon there'd be a few more than 400 million, but the ghost cities and everything, they don't lie. And for a country that's supposed to be communist, it doesn't make sense when there is actually discrepancies between wealth, you know, those that have and those that have nots, and also there's homeless. Homeless are not meant to happen in a communist, socialist nation. G'day, Jenny. Jenny from the block. How you doing? We've got some facts we'll go in through here. Some interesting things we'll say about Taiwan first. Let's have a look at these. And I'll put it on the screen for you. Where are we? Bam. So let's have a look at this. All right, just interesting things about Taiwan. I've already told you that they have a population of nearly 24 million, and Taiwan's a lot smaller than Australia too. So that goes to show you about the density that we're talking about here. Okay, Taiwan is the home of the world's tallest mountain on an island. There you go, that's interesting. Interesting fact. Wait a sec, I'll just move this over for you too. Okay, we've got number two. It sits on the boundary of two tectonic plates. Well, that's not very good. That normally means with earthquakes, etc. Pretty bad if you're in an island nation for tsunamis as well. Taiwan has more scooters than cars. Interesting. Bubble tea, boba, my daughter loves it, was invented in Taiwan. All our plastic toy soldiers for people like me and Buckaroony, we had those when we were kids. They were always made in Taiwan on the bottom. Taiwan produces the majority of the world's advanced semiconductors, actually 62% of semiconductors and electronics, vital electronics, especially to Japan and the USA, which you're probably starting to see a theme here, why it would be also dangerous to disrupt, okay, these assets from said countries, Japan and America. Taiwan society is multicultural. Or we know that multiculturalism doesn't really work, but the Hoklo, sorry if I'm butchering that, is the largest group. Haka, not a New Zealand dance, war dance, Indigenous Austronesian groups, and recent immigrants. I believe the Chinese still have the majority of the population over there, but 7, Taiwan's Lantern Festival is one of the world's most spectacular. I'll be looking into that after. It has the highest densities of convenience stores, pay bills, okay, the 7-Elevens, Family Marts, etc. I wonder if Indian immigration's hit over there yet. There's a unique species of rock monkeys. I'd rather have rock monkeys than rock spiders. We've got a lot of those in the Western nations now. And number 10, Taiwan was the first in Asia to legalise same-sex marriage. Heard an interesting point about LGBTQ, that it should only be called G. I talked about that last night with a good fellow named Anton. The reason is Lesbian, that's just gay. Okay, it's just G. Still a G. G stand for gay. Gay. Okay, so the organisation at this moment, cult, should be just called G. Bisexual. There's no such thing as part-time. There's no Army Reserve equivalent of being gay. It's just gay. So bi is gay. Trans, confused gay, and queer, super gay. Right? So that's all it is. So it shouldn't be called LGBTQ+. It should be just called G. Okay? That's all it should be. What else we got? I don't want to tell you straight away about this one, so I'll turn this off for a second, which is a little bit of the proof finding that we found on why I'm actually happy to see that it's unlikely that this attack can go ahead. Where's that at? Wait 2 seconds. All right, what do you guys got to say? Hawker, hey Kaz, I missed a few streams due to being on courses, but glad to be back. Good to have you back, Hawker. What do you miss when you're on courses the most? Is it the bed? Is there a particular food? Is it the missus? Is it your dog? Mega Penguin, g'day mate. Rock spiders, you can't put that together. Rock spiders, fuck me. They'll hear you and they'll oblige, but you're not on their target list, are you, mate? Have you heard of what's going on with HMP Wakefield over in England? All the spiders over there, the bacons, as they like to call them, are getting targeted. You know, they've had 2 KIA in the last month. Navial, so translated from Latin, is gay. So I've heard. Hawko, 2SLGBTQQIPAA+. Sorry, so wild, this is the full acronym. I wouldn't be surprised. What are you drinking tonight, team? Hope everyone's week's been going well. So, if we were to ask is, g'day Alan, I see you up there, mate. If I was to ask is what the main threat is from trying, do you reckon this is just CCP doing sabre rattling, trying to look strong in front of the 500 families that are actually behind the scenes of the CCP, etc.? Appeasement? Do you think that Russia has become the canary in the cave where China has now seen what can happen to basically a first world nation attacking a peer opposition without the intent of destroying it but overtaking it, and seeing that they've given Russia such a bloody nose that maybe this has made them think twice and think maybe this is not worth the damage that could come our way? Do you think there's someone in IT in China using Taiwan semiconductors that are actually looking up Grok or ChatGPT-5 and saying, can we beat Taiwan in a naval invasion? And when it says no straight away and tells them why, they go, oh, that doesn't sound good for me. Maybe we have a second guess at this. Jack Denell's writing out the cyclone message closed. They gave us 3 rat packs. Navy, I'm sorry for my ignorance, team. Where is it looking like hitting the cyclone? I hope this is not triggering anyone by the screen I've got in the background. You look after yourselves up there, Navy veteran. You're going to have an important job to do with your role. Captain Morgan, that'll get you through, says Harley. Hawko, I still think China won't do it. The risk just seems too great. I don't think they even can do it. When you have a look at the information I've got on the screen that I'm about to show you in a second, it basically says categorically, no, it cannot work, will not work. Plus a lot of people don't know that Taiwan has also said, and you may not have heard of this before, there's a thing called the Three Gorges Dam in China that I believe that Taiwan said one of their initial reactions would be to destroy the semiconductors, which would be what the treasure is that China's after, whether that be destroy a capability, deny a capability to their opposition being Japan, their traditional hated enemy, and traditional enemy, primal enemy, or whether to be to against USA to deny them, the main beneficiaries. They could either destroy those plants, or they could seize them, but they're not going to get over there. And we'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. So they've talked about if hostile action was to occur on Taiwan, one of the initial things they would do is basically harpoon the Three Gorge Dam that would cause a national geological disaster of the Three Gorge Dam, basically flooding and starving a majority of the Chinese nation. That would become an ecological disaster, that they could not stop or prevent. It's also the fact of modern technology now that through our satellite imagery, the Five Eyes, all of these things, any sort of movement, aggressive movement by the Chinese is picked up almost instantly as soon as they turn those engines on. Well, people doing 24-hour pickets just watching CCP movements and dispositions by call sign, by unit, by concentration of forces, etc. This is happening all the time. So there is no chance of a surprise attack. You've also got like 120 kilometres of ocean between China, and Taiwan, which means that nature also has a predictable part to play in this. And in the military, we call that effect on mission. Now, that means you can have the best plan ever, like D-Day. It got called off multiple times because of the surf, at Normandy, at Sword, at Utah, etc. So not only is it highly predictable in the few locations that even exist in Taiwan, not Thailand, to do a beach landing, but they're also fortified, they're also mined, and they're prepared for the defence of Taiwan. So the avenues of approach would be highly predictable. Weather will play a very major part, which means the worse the weather, the less ready you have to be. The better the weather, okay, let's step up a little bit. Let's prepare for this. Let's do drills. And when you have a clear and present danger, unlike Australia, that means that you have hard times, which means men step up and prepare for hard times, hard men. Having said that, like the Western world, there is a problem with Taiwan at the moment that they have an ageing population, which is also dwindling, due to the replacement, due to the basic inability for men and women to find common ground and to produce children, whether that be for economic reasons, religious reasons, or the fact that women are going further and further liberal, men are going further and further, which liberal is bad for your country. All countries, it's always bad. It's always been bad. While conservatism is about what's good for the country, and putting the country before yourself, and men tend to be doing that in all the Western countries. So when men and women come together, highly undateable. Most women now seem to have masculine energy, and it's quite unappealing. And guys don't want to hook into those strips for another 40 years unless they're a simp. Don't be a simp. Anyway, so dwindling population. Hawko, Taiwan's Defence Force is approximately 150,000 with approximately 1.3 million reserves. That's way bigger than I thought. Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, they would have more than 4 times the landing force that the Chinese could muster. The force would be 4 times bigger that would be meeting them on the shores. Not to mention the drones, not to mention the indirect, not to mention the engagement area where China would have to be very careful whatever they do, that they don't destroy the infrastructure they're trying to claim. At the same time, there's absolutely no control measures, on the actual Taiwan, on what they can do as an developed engagement area in front of them off the beaches. So it'd be devastating against the Chinese people. Japan would also, I assume, have a part to play if the CCP decide to attack Taiwan. You're all over it. You're all over it. That's why on the, sorry, I didn't put it on there. Where are we? Wait 2 seconds. That's why I made another thumbnail. I'll put this on for you right now, mate. Wait 2 seconds, my man. There's Private Ronald George Anderson. Good to see you there, my man. Calling his name. It's been spoken. Where are we? No. Wait. This will make sense in a second, Tim. So I made another thumbnail that was a little bit more appealing, but also gave a bit of a heads up to exactly what we're talking about, the hidden allies through symbology that Jake was just talking about then. And it's one of the most vital things. And then what I'll do is I'll explain exactly the analogy. Where are we? So, bam. I'll push this up here for a second so we can look at it. Okay, if you can extrapolate what I mean on there, information-wise, what do you see? You see China leaning in aggressively, CCP. You see Taiwan prepared, modernised, good to go, saying you won't do shit. And then what we see there is the Japanese sleeping dragon waiting to wake up. Below that is the USA bald eagle, good to go. They have the main interests in supporting Taiwan and have been doing so since, I believe, 1959. So this is not a knee-jerk reaction, team. We just haven't heard about it because it hasn't really been in our purview, so to speak. So Jake was right on it. Bam. American interests, are definitely behind this, and it's not going to go down. And one of the most dangerous enemies you can have, and an enemy that's notorious for winning every fight against China, is Japan. They hit well above their weight. The new female Prime Minister, God bless her, she seems lovely. There's no DEI hires in Japan. You're either connected or you are the real deal. They only acknowledge meritocracy in that country. So to her, well done. Yes, I think Japan has upset the apple cart. It seems that way. You're flirting with powers that be on YouTube tonight. Yeah, Mega Penguin, let it be how it is. What are they going to do? Make my crypto fall further? Right. Let's put the information up. Let's put this up. Okay, so I asked Grok just quickly. Screen capture. Bam. Wait a sec. What we got? We've got a military officer. I'm not going to say his name. Who's messaging? Okay, so he's not watching the stream. All right. So, when we asked what was going on, Harley, you say these countries would do anything to support the West in the East. They've got interest in the place, So it's been a pact that they've had, I believe, since 1959, a resolution that if anyone was to attack Taiwan, that they would support them. So just because we haven't heard about it doesn't mean it's there. Just like NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation, is not able to help Ukraine because Ukraine is, one, not part of NATO, and two, even if they were to try and join NATO, you can't join unless, you're not in a current conflict. Those things occurring. And that was always a deal that was made between NATO and Russia, that if we both behave, then we won't break the rules for each other, but then both broke the rules. So when I asked Grok, about what the capabilities were of of China attacking Taiwan, categorically it says no straight up, and then supplies all the information by the ships. Funny enough, I've actually done an operational trip and went there by hovercraft. There you go, from Australia to East Timor on one of the trips. So no, China does not currently have sufficient dedicated naval amphibious capability to successfully land and sustain the large-scale invasion force in Taiwan that could overwhelm its defences in a contested environment. While the People's Liberation Army, the PLA, has made rapid strides in amphibious warfare, including new ships, barges, integration of civilian vessels, experts, and there's no such thing as a civilian vessel as soon as there's military on it. Now it becomes a military target, in case you don't know that. Experts assess that a full cross-strait amphibious assault remains one of the most complex operations imaginable, far exceeding historical precedents like Normandy in scale and difficulty. So it's got a breakdown of all the different type class ships there. So the information is fantastic. Well done, Grok. Conservative estimates believe that up to 30,000 troops, at most, within the first 24 to 72 hours, so they're going to be starting to run out of ration packs, and we know that rice is only filling for an hour. But that is in no way enough to be able to overwhelm the defences in Taiwan, which would have more than well over 10 times their amount of people they could muster. The role of civilian shadow fleets, they're preparing them. Again, The civilian shadow fleets mean nothing. They're a military target, even with no weapons on them, as soon as they put soldiers on there for a military purpose. Why it's not feasible for success? The expert consensus: amphibious invasions require a ratio of 3 to 5 to 1. That means Australia normally attacks on a ratio of 3 to 1 in a deliberate attack. There's the same between 3 and 5 to 1 attacker. 3 to 1 attackers versus 1 defender. Superiority at the landing point. Taiwan has 150 to 200,000 active reserve troops, fortified defences and asymmetric weapon systems, harpoon missiles, drones, etc. Even if China lands 50,000 initially, optimistic with civilians, holding and spending a lodgement against counterattacks is doubtful. With air naval superiority, which the USA Japanese intervention would contest heavily. War game outcomes simulated 26 plus invasions. China fails to secure Taiwan if the US Japan intervene promptly, losing 90% plus of the amphibious fleet and tens of thousands of troops. This is day one on the landing. Far greater than what they lost in D-Day, which was only 10,000 in the whole day. Funny enough, 10,000 people were killed during from the Allies, and 10,000 were killed from the defenders. So despite the fact that you see what looks like a one-sided fight, on Saving Private Ryan, in actual fact, it was very brutal for both sides. Other hurdles: Taiwan could destroy its own ports, forcing pure beach assaults, weather and monsoons, limit, nature's effects, etc. So all this information's on there. All you got to do is quickly type into Grok if you want to read more of this. Is just the possibilities of a China invasion on Taiwan. Let's also remember China has no battle-tested military at all. None. And no leaders either. And a lot of their gear seems to be very paper tiger orientated. So let me explain something else to you too. Kaz, your IQ just went up by 20% with those glasses on. Good to see you here. K-Dog. Okay. Mate, and he's in for a big day, except his Xbox just went down, which is it's very upsetting. Very upsetting. I'm going to do a bit of a hypothetical for you there. G'day, Brady. How you going, mate? It's always good to see the boys in blue. Carl P, Brady, Simon. Simon's further up. Simon, you can jump on the phone if you think that you've got something you can offer here. A counter conversational points we haven't brought up yet. A lot of times if I don't ask people to get on the phone, team, it's for two reasons. One, they're not on Patreon, or two, they are a current military member. And I don't want them to be in a position where our outdated military community looks down on what would be our best recruiting tool, and that is completely opening up our our footprint on YouTube, Instagram, etc. But then just moderate it to people that don't come across as drongos, people like war pigs that can do positive work for the Australian Army recruiting, etc. Highlight it, make it a brand, make it exciting. Make our heroes people that wear night vision. Okay, not capes. Carl likes that one. Tofu drag gear. I don't even know what that means. Okay, so this is the hypothetical. Let's just say that China, anyone that thinks, could China go and take Taiwan? Do they have a legal right to Taiwan? Remember, it used to be a Dutch colony, back in like 1724. China's had it. Wait a sec, here we go. Filthy Raffy, how you going?
Hey, buddy.
Do you have a thought or anything that I haven't covered so far on the practicality of China possibly, creating some sort of conflict against Taiwan or Japan or Australia?
I think China's biggest problem is that they generally don't have the support from the rest of the world. So they're relying on their own technology, their own war machine, whereas Taiwan's, backing from the USA, backing from Australia, backing from Japan, they're getting all these different technologies that, these top of the line weapons systems that, that China only can, on a good day, create a copy of.
That's all they can do. Yeah.
Then you got to look at China's dwindling population. I think they're going to be extinct in less than 100 years.
If I was to ask you a question,
yep.
This is pretty simple. And when I say this, team, I'm not talking about the Chinese people. I'm talking about the CCP. I'm talking about their government. Just like in Australia, you can absolutely love Australia, absolutely love Australian people, but detest, allergic to our fucking leadership, which we don't have a choice in. So when we say this about China, we're talking about the Chinese leadership taking into account their people are compelled to do what they're told to do by social credit scores. So, Simon, who is legitimately, if any, a friend of China? Who?
I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. I don't think.
Neither can I.
And I think, and maybe I'm not as well educated as some of the younger kids here, but China doesn't want friends. They believe that they are better than everyone else. They have always considered themselves like that. They believe that they're the middle kingdom, and treat everybody as, secondary and second-class citizens.
They do. So Carl's put up there Russia. Russia is their friend. Russia's not their friend. Russia doesn't even have a common language with China.
I think we should, if the opportunity would arise, China would go for Russia to try and hit the minerals that Russia hasn't found yet.
I do believe that Russia could support China because Russia was the main reason Japan was kicked out of China. They had China on their absolute heels. We're probably going to take over China, but then Russia came down from the north, and helped them push Japan back home. But that was out of protecting their own borders as well, I believe. I think Iran doesn't have a military capability, and they're too far away.
25 years ago, what was his name? The guy who wrote Hunt for Red October and did the movie.
You must know by now I only read menus.
Yeah.
If it's more than a menu at a restaurant, I'm out.
Anyway, he was a prolific book writer, had friends in the Pentagon, had friends in Special Forces, and he actually wrote a fiction book about China versus Russia based on weapons in the 1980s, 1990s. Because China went on a land grab.
Yep. They went too hard on the.
I think it's a realistic possibility that if China was actually going to attack anyone, it would be Russia before Taiwan.
Wouldn't that be an interesting one? All right, mate.
I think because it's easier to go over land and attack someone than to go over water and attack someone.
It's almost impossible to do the land one, especially with today's modern technology. It's just too easy to interdict it, disrupt it, etc. And it's too predictable. All right, mate. I'm going to get back to my metaphor.
Yep.
And I appreciate you, mate, even though you are Air Force.
Well, I do my best, mate.
Okay, mate. Now get me a fucking juice box.
Okay.
All right. That's juice box guy. Okay, so metaphor. This one's for Jake. He likes the metaphors. Koala first. We have smart people in Australia. I believe we should focus our finances into developing homegrown laser tech. But this is all taken into account, Koala, that our leadership actually cares, mate. When you've got someone named Penny Wong by nature and by name in our, and she seems to absolutely love, so does Dan Andrews, and maybe even Albanese, our red corn chip counterparts. Hey, Mega Penguin, written by Tom Clancy. That, you're right, Tom Clancy was the author of that, Hunt for Red October. Russia does own outer Manchuria, which China definitely wants back, so there is a rivalry in that. That's an interesting one, Boozer. I like that. Team, if you're watching at the moment, it costs you nothing to try and get us to 20,000 subscribers. Subscribe now. And, yeah, we're on 19,564, I think it is at the moment. Or, no, 16,594. It doesn't really make that much difference these days. But anyway. So, Mega Penguin, thank you very much for the dineros there. I appreciate it very much. Keeps the lights on here. Let's talk about the analogy we're going to do this, and this is a dedication to stained, spunky Hollywood. Okay, so picture there is a bar that you go into, right? And in that bar is Taiwan. Leaning on the bar, not a very big dude. Okay, dressed well, kind of metro looking, maybe even a little bit left leaning, which is the reason why he's the first to have LGBT, etc. China walks in the door, crowded bar. Walks in, walks over, goes to get a drink, and he decides that he doesn't really like Taiwan. Leans over and looks at him and go, mate, you're wearing a pink shirt. What the fuck is that about? Hey, how you going there? Who got that from? We'll have a look at, we'll get to you in 2 seconds, my friend. You there? And he looks at him and goes, I don't like your shirt. As a matter of fact, I don't like you. I've got a little bit of a fucking problem with you, to tell you the truth. And then a drink gets slammed down the bar and he looks over and there's a guy there with a red and white shirt on. And he goes, hey, mate, what's your name? And he goes, my name's China. What's your name? He goes, my name's Japan. He's going, what's your problem? What's your problem with Taiwan? He owes me some drinks. And if you fuck with him, I'm not going to get my drinks, which means I'm going to get them from you. So how about you piss off and leave him alone? He's done nothing wrong to you. And the guy goes, hey, mate, you look pretty tired. You know, Japan. Japanese, get it? Tired. And he says to him, you want me to have a go at you? And you hear, and, hey, mate, how about you fucking pull your head in? And then he looks over and sees eagle fucking face. And he goes, I'm USA. And this guy is absolutely jacked. He is a bad-looking motherfucker. And you think that you've got problems there. And then you go, oh, Jesus, now there's 3 of them that want to have a go at me. And then there's another little dude that comes over and he's Vietnam going, I've had a gutful of the way you used to treat me, China. You know, and then you look over and Laos goes, yeah, me too. And then he turns around and in comes this group of about 20 and they're a family. He goes, and who the fuck are you dudes? And they go, we're India. We're younger, we're tougher, we're tested, we're ready, and we don't like you either. You know, and we'll come and take your lunch. Holy shit. And who are you? I'm Mongolian lamb. I don't like the way you treat us either. You know, and who's that guy over there? Who's that good-looking dude, you know, with the blue shirt on? Yeah, that's Australia. And who's the guy with him? Yeah, that's New Zealand. Yeah, all of us have got a problem with you actually, buddy. So how about you sit there, drink your MSG-laced bloody Singapore sling, and when you're done, don't let the door hit you on the way out. So what I'm saying is, one in, all in. This is one of those situations where NATO could be scrubbed out where it says Russia and then put China. And I believe that China has no global friends, you know, politically, that would back them up. And I think what happened within 2020, with no apologies coming out of the red corn chip, I think if anyone owes repatriation or, what do you call it? Reparations would be the rest of the world, and no one should have any debts left at all to the red corn chip, for starters of the sorry. You know, I don't think they could take a swing at anyone without getting blindsided from 100 different areas. What are your thoughts on that? So we've got you at not much of a name there. Issue is China outnumbers anyone in the West in manufacturing. And what we call manufacturing relies on Chinese parts, equipment only, needs to last until it's destroyed to be replaced by another fast. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. We need a China in this world. We do. They are a necessary evil. I think they've got a beautiful history, absolutely amazing. but if they become the aggressor, there's just no happy endings for them. There isn't. I appreciate that comment, and I appreciate you keeping the lights on with your turmeric financial assistance to the channel. It's appreciated. Mate, it is an interesting question. They are a necessary evil, and they are a manufacturing hub, and they have an opportunity to change the way they do things. They've been a communist country for less than 100 years. But this is just something they've done, and they need tough leadership in their country. You can't rule in countries like China, and or India or Russia just by being a nice guy. It won't cut it. You've got to be aggressive. Then the phone rings in the UK and Germany. The rest of Europe says, mess with them, mess with us. Then the phone rings and, yeah, we'll see. Are you saying that that's support China? Could you imagine the sanctions that could go on China if they actually did something like this? To get global sanctions put on you when you're already a teetering financial, economic, geographical mess, it could be just enough to topple them. And I tell you now, you don't want China to fall either. Because again, we don't really have a problem with the people. Hey, Stoney, how you going? Remember for 4 months. Well done. The great unwashed, brilliant analogy, Kaz. I forgot about Vietnam. Yeah, Vietnam's had enough. They don't want to get pushed around. They're one of, mark my words, the sleeping dragon is actually Vietnam. Thailand is tried to gentrify himself too much, and they're getting some groups of people over there that they don't want there. South Korea, in as far as technology goes, when you want to see what happens with communism versus capitalism, one of the most amazing places on earth is South Korea. One of the worst is North Korea. And that is all by you went one way, you zagged the other way. And this is what the result is. Vietnam is picking itself up, and they are a blossoming flower, and it is going to be amazing. I'm always sort of torn with Vietnam because they've been the tectonic plates of so many countries' conflicts. But at the same time, whether we agree with America or Australia being there, etc., or the French, remember they were going there to stop, communism, and they were there to help South Vietnam, who wanted help. So we weren't the bad guys. Then we'd have a recession in mining, unfortunately. We would. It would be ramifications both ways there, Hollywood. Absolutely. Simon, if everyone started to not buy Chinese products, their country would fall apart in less than 6 months. Yeah. Who's going to block the Arabs? I believe that will be the big thing that's going to happen. I'll tell you something that happened a couple of days ago. And again, this is not indicative of all the people. It's not indicative of Islam, because I reckon if Islamic people had been there, they also would have probably stuck up for the Christian, which is this guy. A couple of days ago, this is about cultural aspects and different religions. I'm sorry, Islam, I think it's a cult. I'm sorry if it offends you. I believe it's a cult. Anything that'll kill its members that try to leave it, not a fan. I went to go to a train station here in Sydney, walked past an Islamic guy who's trying to convert people at the train station, and rather than pay him off, rather than be disrespectful, rather than be rude, I basically gave him some goodwill. The same as I do for anyone, everywhere, just give him some goodwill. Hands together. G'day, mate. I was on a phone call. Just gave him a thumbs up, a little bit of a sawadee ka sort of look like you'd get the Buddhist people give you. And he called me back. And he could see I was on a phone call. He calls me back. And I'm going, what's the go? Yeah, mate, what's that? He goes, what was that hand gesture you just did? And I'm looking at him going, the goodwill one, just, blessings to you. He goes, I thought he was going to go, oh, okay, mate, thank you. All the best. Religion and peace, all that sort of shit. No, I can't accept your blessing. If we've got any Islamic people there, let us know what you would have done or said to this guy who was representing you guys. He's going, I can't accept your blessing. There's only one God, and it's Allah. And I went, and we don't do that, so I can't accept your blessing. And I'm like, well, all right, go fuck yourself, and went on my way. Went over, still on the phone call 40 minutes later, come back. This guy's still there with his conversion tools. Don't have a problem with it. I don't care. And I come back down, I saw him and I went, hey, mate, what happened before with you not accepting a blessing? How about I go and get a Bible and I come back and I show you about the God that I believe in? No, don't want to see you. I could never be converted. And I went, then why are you trying to convert us? Why are you trying to convert us, mate? Why can't you just have a nice day? All I try to do is give you blessings, have a good day, and you had a problem with it. I said, how come you keep fleeing from Islamic countries to come to Australia, Judeo-Christian country? If you're from the religion of peace, how come you're not running to other religion of peace countries? He couldn't answer it. He's like, we should have a conversation about Islam. And I go, mate, I've travelled all over the world. Have you? And it gave me a bad flavour because I know a lot of Islamic people that I like and respect. And I've worked with a lot of them in the Middle East. Absolutely loved them. Would have let him in my house. Would have let him would have liked to have had him as a neighbour. But this guy, I reckon other Islamic people would have said to him, pull your head in. That guy wasn't trying to convert you. He wasn't trying to give you some sort of lesson, competition in virtue. Yeah, it was just a situation I'll just share with you. Anyway, Philippines are over, absolutely. And Philippines is a sleeping giant too. You don't want them on your bad side. Absolutely not. Dave, at Dave 4753. G'day, legends. G'day, mate. Mr. Bucker, any daylight saving sucks? It does. He missed most of it. Basically, Bucko, we were just saying that a lot of people have been getting nervous about the way that our social media and the way Channel 7, 9, 10, ABC are trying to saber rattle and make us feel like there is going to be some impending doom by China who's going to do a naval expansion, take Taiwan as part of step one, swing around the horn and then attack Australia and take over and all this sort of crap. When we've done their homework and they can't even take Taiwan. Outnumbered, outgunned, straight up. They've got a population of nearly 24 million in an area just a bit bigger than Kmart. And here we are in Australia, in a country which this doesn't make sense to me. Give us back our guns. I know, Bucko, not a fan of it. Ex-cop. We heard the joke the other day. Guy walks into a room. There's a cop, there's a prison guard, and there's a soldier. And what does he say to him? G'day, Bucko. Yeah, he's all three. So, yeah. It was interesting when you actually do a little bit of extrapolation of information. You look into something, the threats, is it logical? Is it possible? Taking into account you're dealing with a country that doesn't have any veterans, no tested military, centralised leadership, all the same problems that Russia has, which is the reason why they're getting their asses kicked in many ways in the Ukraine. But one of the biggest reasons they're losing in Ukraine, like China would lose against Taiwan, is they're not going in there for total war to destroy. They're going in there to try and capture. And when you try to do that, that's like going after a bad guy and you've got to try and bring him back alive. Very hard to do so. And chances are you're going to take casualties while trying to do in the hardest possible way, bring him back alive. There is too many people that would absolutely, side with with Taiwan people. By rights, they're a very kind, gracious people. They make 62% of the semiconductors and electronics that are used mostly by Japan, who is a sleeping giant, as well as the USA, who is the biggest, military footprint on Earth. Got a new pup today, 3 dogs. Harley, you can never have enough dogs. And if you do, a bit of MSG can make them taste great too. Love dogs. I've got a cavoodle, not very masculine, but I love him. Yeah, so it turns out, Bucko, they do not have the flotilla with a combination of military and civilian craft that they could even do a lodgement on a well-prepared coastline of Taiwan. Not to mention that Taiwan won't be asleep during this. Their intentions would be to smack the Three Gorges Dam and cause a geological disaster in China, which would cause mass famine and drownings. Plus, they could end up saying, that's it. When they get close, flip the table, destroy the semiconductors. What if USA, what if Japan said, we're actually going to put people on the actual island itself? We're going to actually put a US airbase there. So now if you're attacking Taiwan, you're also attacking USA directly, right? That would be another one. What if USA said, we'll take 24 million people from Taiwan to America, and we'll put you in one of our states that hosts you. You know, if you want to all immigrate and bring your entire capability with you, imagine that. Yeah, that'd be crazy. 50 minutes, yep, got ya, Spunky. Not having any experience in conflict recently, I'd assume their logistical experience would be pretty archaic, absolutely. Harley says, Buck, I did your lamb shanks today. Awesome. Lamb shank is fantastic. Problem with cooking lamb is it always feels like you're trying to cut up a human body if you let it sit too long. That greasy smell that it creates. You know, if you do your dishes on the same night, you probably don't have a problem like I do. Taiwan has had a long time to prepare for it, too, so the defence plan was made to not fail, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely, that's a great point. That's a great point. Simon, hit the like button. Yeah, hit the like button if you can, team. Did we get any new subscribers here tonight? Don't know. Sorry, can't stay. Got to organise dinner, says Mega Penguin, and still finding what's worth eating in Alice Springs. Durry butts and stale chips. Buckaroony, good stuff, Harley. There you go. I hope you all have a good weekend, actually. Not a hell of a lot happening this weekend. It did take the road logistics are so good in Sydney. It took me 2 hours to drive 50 kilometres today in 4-lane traffic, and that's taken off at 6 o'clock in the morning. Absolute mess. Righto, what else did we have here? I had all sorts of frickin' points, but ADHD, I get lost inside them. So military lodgement, complete migration offer, okay. Destruction of Taiwan's manufacturing. China could always turn around and just go, all right, you're right, I can't do it. What would be the response if they just said, we're just going to land 10 nukes, on Taiwan, all in one hit? America's not going to hit them back with nukes. They're going to go, shit. I didn't expect that if I can't have it, you can't have it sort of approach. That'd be no good. What if they offered all of the people within the semiconductor businesses, gave them an offer they can't refuse, and they just said to them, we'll give all of you $1 million a year, to your top creators, manufacturers, leadership. We'll give you a pay rise that is triple whatever you're on, and treat you like a golden calf if you bring the technology over here and recreate it. Yeah? Maybe they do that. Acquisition versus denial. Okay. Force projection. Okay, no surprise. Landing zones, none. War games. Okay, Russia. Okay, total war assets seizure. Global interests in Taiwan. Yeah, China just, this is going to hurt them. They've just denied any seafood coming from Japan now. All right, that's a good way to help your people. Take out some sort of blockade on the best food that your people love and are addicted to. That's it. All right. Okay, so just understand that Taiwan's a capitalist nation, which means it's about meritocracy. China is not. China is about the CCP. It's about state-owned, no incentive to do shit other than to stay out of trouble, social credit scores, etc. Australia is a capitalist nation, at the moment, but it feels like it's sliding towards socialism. And for some reason, we've got people, mostly the ones that have been to university, that seem to think that'd be a good thing until they get out of university and they've got to pay their bills and they want their $160,000 paycheck. And then they conveniently all of a sudden flip over and become conservative. Not conservative, capitalist. Currently in Townsville, Kaz might hit Cactus Jacks for some jalapeno poppers. Buckaroony, that sounds like a great idea. I just saw one on TV. There was this fantastic woman and she cooked what was like a biscuit, not what Americans call a biscuit, like a cracker, and I don't mean a white person. And across that was a piece of bacon, some cheese, and some hot honey that was poured over there with one jalapeno in the centre. And then you can put a prawn, garlic prawn, on top of that and whack it in there. Sounds awesome. Dolphin is high in mercury content. Didn't know that, Bretty. Also got told by a woman yesterday that had ADHD that one of the symptoms of people with ADHD is an infatuation with fizzy drinks. Kind of makes sense. I've always liked them, whether it be soda water, Coca-Cola, Sprite, etc. Maybe there's some truth to it. They also banned the export of rare earth materials. Yep. I think it's a case of throwing the toys outside the pram, so to speak, chuck the dummy spit. I wish all the world would get along. That's what I wish. Regardless of what your religion was, or what your beliefs are, as long as you don't hurt kids or each other, and you try to live in harmony, and your country should always be getting better in every 4-year increment. Better for children, safer for children, education, going up, moving with the times, gentrify the whole world. There is no reason why we can't do it. There's plenty of money to do it. There's plenty of food to do it, to assist people. But just make them earn it. Don't just give it to them. Otherwise, it'll go on glass, it'll go on rims on cars, and gold teeth. Ozan says, Australia's been more socialist and capitalist for a while. I agree. Centrelink and Medicare being the best examples of how. As in a purely capitalist society, those services, programs aren't a thing. Look, what happens is there's a certain gender in our nation and all nations that absolutely likes the idea of the welfare state getting things for not working. And I won't say what that gender is, but it's a common trait across all Western worlds, and it's the reason why they dig into liberalism, because liberalism is about being the victim. It's about getting shit for free, right? And that's the opposite of meritocracy. I don't want something I haven't earned. Dave, if I had $1 for every time socialism worked, I'd have $0. Likewise, if it did work, I'd have zero. I'd also have $0. It makes sense, mate. It doesn't work. Doesn't matter how many times it fails. And we're seeing it unfolding in New York. It's already gone to shit. Guys and gals, so the conclusion is, don't be worried about China, except for the fact that our country is selling us out to China. Yeah. I hope that there isn't any people with conflicting views that feel like I'm just preaching it at you, but it's getting pretty damn interesting when you put up predictions, when you put up information into something like Grok. ChatGPT's a little more politically left-leaning, but Grok seems to be brutally honest. Yep. For all the people out there with crypto at the moment, don't panic, don't get upset. I've got some there too. At the moment, it's a shitty situation. The stock market's down, the stock market comes back. Just don't look into your apps. You'll be fine. Be safe, be well, says Simon. I don't think there's any too much. Let's kick this over now. And if you want to stay for a while, you can stay for a while. It's 8:30. I'm willing to give you another half hour if you want to switch the script to anything you just want to talk about. Now's a good time if you want to talk about anything to do with Australian military, anything that's on your plate that you'd like to talk about. Feel free. Let me know. I'm here right now. Is there anything you just want to talk about? Thank you for everything, Simon. Always appreciate you here, Rafi. Harley, you saying goodbye to Simon, or are you going yourself there, my man? Does anyone have any fitting questions that they'd like to bring up? Hey, Stoney. Mate, you're going to put your wallet away there, Hollywood. So Hollywood has just sent out 5 in the trenches with gifts. You know what he gets for that? I know what he wants. He wants the South Australian mama, the single mum. It's coming your way, dude. Where are we? This is for Staney. We'll have to make up a new one of these for him. For Mr. Hollywood, the land of the single mums, South Australia. Bam. Feed him a mother-in-law. That should make him happy. Welcome, calamari. Now I want some calamari. Yeah. So, guys, good to see you there, P&DA. You got Ali. We've got Grumpy Digger. He's been here forever. Good to have you, Grumpy. We've got slow reflexes. Me too as I get older. And a sore back. And Lockie speaks. What do you got to say, Lockie? Let's get some thumbs up for Hollywood for his gracious recruiting drive he's done for the channel. Thank you very much, my man. 7:30 in the best state. Carl P. Oh, that's right. It's a bit later for me, isn't it? AM Boozer. I don't think they could sell to the mainland Chinese people, the Nanking or Taiwan. The Taiwanese are their own. So how would they sell that to the mainland Chinese people? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a kraken, says Joshy Fawns. Good to see you there, Josh. Nikki, what's your thoughts on your new mobile artillery, the Huntsman? I haven't looked too much into it there, Nick. From Northern Territory he is. Mate, he's gun artillery. Hollywood, how does the conflict currently with Israel or the Middle East possibly affect China's interests, if at all? Israel is it's a global situation, which I think the way it acts there, Stoney, is it becomes like a canary in the cave as far as how other situations are going to be handled. Now, who will come to the aid of the country that's in the conflict? If nothing happens, then China might think, oh, maybe if America doesn't help Israel, then they're not going to help Taiwan. Now, if they're not going to help Ukraine, maybe they're not going to help Taiwan if we can make it quick enough. Wherever there's some global tension and they feel like there's too many fights happening at once, that might be a time when you can actually say, well, how about we try that? You know, when there's maximum amount of chaos. At the moment, whatever's happening with the conflict, it's almost like a Vietnam era anti-war sentiment that's occurring, but in reverse, where we're seeing liberals and uni students across the world, in the West only, absolutely siding with Hamas over Israel, you know, while calling other people Nazis. And you go, but you're the one that's causing or calling for from the river to the sea. That means you're the Nazis team. It's a bizarre thing. You know, there's trouble happening all across the world in different areas, and it's heartbreaking. These concepts work in a culture of personal responsibility, a moral and religious people where we know we have to give account to the Lord for how we lived, not taking more than we need. Absolutely, looking after the village. One of the things, I don't know what you think about this one there at Hollywood. I was thinking when you speak to someone who is not spiritual, wouldn't it be interesting to say to them, put $300 on a table when they say they're agnostic, etc., that they're not religious at all, absolutely no belief, and just let them know, well, do you want to make $300? And when they go, okay, yeah, sure thing. Why? What do I have to do? You go, just got to sign this and just cut your hand and put the little blood from your palm there to cement your signature on this contract that I've just created from ChatGPT or Grok. And they're like, yeah, okay, $300 for a little cut in my hand. Yeah, I'll do that. What's it say? It won't worry you, mate, because you're not religious. You don't believe in God, which means you don't believe in the devil. So it's just fine print. It just says you're willing to sell your soul to the devil for $300 right now. So at the moment of your death, which could be next second, next day, next decade, could be in 50 years from now, that he gets your soul, you know, for the $300 you're about to get now. And that's easy $300 for you because the devil doesn't exist according to you. And watch all these agnostic people go, no, I don't want the money that much. Very interesting. You know, it's funny how people don't have trouble believing the devil, but they do have trouble believing God. It's because the devil is going to have no mercy. It's like a marriage you cannot get out of. Hey, mate, I've got my OSB in February. Always watch your channel and appreciated not only the military advice, but life tips in general. Thank you. That's very nice, mate. There, legal legals. If you want to have a conversation where you and I can go through this journey together, just go into the remarks, or you might be able to see higher on, and I can talk to you tomorrow or the next day, and go into the Black Legion on Patreon. I'd love to have a talk to you. I've got nearly 100% hit rate on OSB, except for one female. You know, but unfortunately, she lied to me about some of the information, and that's why she never got in. But then she ultimately got in and as an OR instead. Going back to the Russia-Chinese thing, people seem to forget about the Chinese-Soviet border war that happened in 1969. I actually didn't know about that, mate. Quite interesting. I'd like to look that up myself. I appreciate that, AM Boozer. Now, that sounds very interesting. How long did it go for? Did Bryan Adams sing about that in the summer of 69? In the winter of 69. Oh, yeah. Kevin, Big Kev. Problem now, 90% of my politics classes are women. Yep. The people that never have to go and fight. It's interesting. You know, do you find there, Kev, that if you have an alternative political view, that can also affect your results? Because we know a few people at the moment that are in university classes in political science and shit that have been told, based on their views, why are you in this class, and words to that effect. Thanks there, Hollywood. I know you like the analogies, the stories. It's a woman thing, which is to create confusion so they don't feel stupid. Okay, that would make sense. Thanks for that, Simon. That's the Patreon link there, team, if you're not there already. You know, if you like a good conversation where we can actually strip it back and have no quarantine on what you say, join that, Black Legion, and let's do it. AM Boozer, it lasted 6 months. The Soviets actually asked America if they could use nuclear weapons against the Chinese. Holy shit. Yep. Well, that would have been tough because did the Chinese have them then in 1969? I don't think they did they? You know, I know that America considered dropping a whole basket of them on Russia, you know, at the end of World War II, because Russia was considered to be what the future problem would be for America, and they considered actually wiping them out, so that never came to eventuality. Thank you for that, Ian Boozer. Very interesting. Yeah, I've got a couple of stories I want to put out soon that I reckon you're going to like, Hollywood. I look forward to having a conversation with you after and getting you excited for these two stories. If I do a story for your team, an audio story, there's no happy endings. You have to get screwed over, killed, or something bad happened to you in the story. There are always no happy endings, all right? And I don't mean Thailand happy ending. I know about the Chinese, Japan, and Russian engagement in the 40s. It was a horrible time to be alive in those days. They got theirs in 1964, but they were very ineffective compared to the Soviet nuclear weapons. Okay. Kev says, it's definitely hard to speak up in class as conservative, but the blokes just group up and think our thing. Look, I get that, but what happens when the assessment comes out? Do you think there's unfair assessment? There's some really good cutting-edge professors that are coming out in the USA that you're really seeing more of since Charlie Kirk, God bless his soul, left us, where they're getting in there and talking about, you know, controversial issues in a way that the students actually allow them to speak. It's funny, when the tone is spoken in a feminine kind of slow way, you know, it's like it's more palatable to them. The tone seems to make so much difference. I heard a fantastic video that I might be doing a reaction to tomorrow, and it's of an incredibly intelligent black man speaking to I believe, a very intelligent black female, where he's schooling her on her victim mentality and about cultures around the world and how she's been completely turned into a victim. And his tone is beautiful. You could almost sleep to it. It's comedical. He's funny, he's intelligent, his pitch, his tone is great. And it goes against everything she believes, but because it came from someone who's darker than her, you know, she can't deny what he's saying. And he said it in such a compelling way. It's like she's allergic. It's like holy water hitting her skin, even though she knows what he's saying is true and he says it with such elegance. You know, it's painful for her to hear because it destroys her worldview. And she doesn't have anyone sitting with her so they can outnumber the actual person that's delivering the facts. It's a beautiful thing. It's a piece of source material that I believe I'll go back to over and over again. And that was from a channel called Legion of Men. Now, Bo, the guy from that channel, a couple of times he goes off the radar a little bit, but overall I think he's a fantastic channel. Fantastic. Legion of Men. Keep an eye on Chaco's archipelago. Britain handling sovereignty over to Mauritius, and China would love to expand its tentacles into the shipping lanes of the Indian Ocean. Look, absolutely, you know, absolutely. I think the next 10 years is going to bring a magnifying glass over world geopolitics, which seems to be taking over pop culture these days. It's very, very interesting. There's nowhere to hide anymore. And that's why what I would say to you is don't be afraid to have a smaller friend group and just speak in a way where you're honest to yourself. Because otherwise you're always hiding behind, oh, I don't want to offend that person, you know, and what happens then is you start to regurgitate compelled speech, and you never want to be that person. That's the opposite of moral courage. Someone's created a nutty putt VR course. Would you participate if given the chance? A nutty putt VR course. I don't even know what that is, Lottie. Victimhood is the calling card for someone who has no agency. Absolutely, David. Absolutely. And I'm allergic to it. Victim mentality, it's like Munchausen's. It's, it's terrible. It happens to a lot of people when they get old too, where all they can talk about is because the world gets smaller for them, and they're sort of locked into where they are due to their inability to get outside their nest and have new adventures. Is all they talk about is medical, soreness, injuries, sicknesses, and it's so exhausting, isn't it? Hiding under the administrative skirts, okay? Hollywood, until victimhood becomes an agency in itself. Yeah, it's definitely the blood that moves through the simp's veins, victimhood. Yeah, and that's something that when we were younger was such a big thing. You guys are breaking away from it. You're able to say what a simp is. We never used to actually hear people called simps when I was younger, but most blokes were simps because everything was about the chase. But in saying that, the females weren't combative. There wasn't mobile phones. There wasn't computers. So what used to happen was everything was a Serengeti. It was, you could go up to any girl if you had the dice hanging low enough, you know, and they had enough testosterone in them to go up to a pretty girl in front of all her friends and go, hey, this is your only chance in this lifetime to have a crack at me. You know, sorry, not you, Felicia. You, Karen, when that used to be a cool name. How would you like to go out for a free dinner? As much MSG as you can put in your veins. Let's do it tomorrow night. Yep, no worries. I'll come and pick you up, say good day to your dad, jump in the car, off you go. Yep. Aussie needs to get guns back so we can defend ourselves better. Cameron, you're exactly right there, mate. And I tell you what, dude, the rest of the world would spin out if they said Australia has a strict no self-defence policy. No guns, completely disarmed. And no country, I believe, has the right, none, to disarm their populace completely. You all should have the ability to defend your family, right? The second one is it means that when you've got weapons and weapon licenses, again, they can be policed as far as, you know, if you've got a criminal record of violence, maybe not. But you should be able to have weapons. You know, we can't even have pepper spray in Australia for women on trains, for daughters on trains, while we've got an epidemic of homeless people screaming at the night from self-inflicted substance abuse, where they've lost grips of reality and they're not in jail because they haven't actually gone all the way yet. But when they do, we'll make an excuse and say, oh, you can't really blame them. They're not really all there, despite the fact the position they're in is because it's self-inflicted. With substance abuse, everyone should be able to carry an industrial can of pepper spray, like a almost like a, what do you call it? Like a foghorn. You know, make it a personal best. Who's got the biggest one? Pull out some canister that big, and just be, not on my watch, buddy. Imagine you start to stuff around. Just say you're a Kiwi guy, big tribal tattoos everywhere. Gee, the fucking muss. And you look scary as shit. And everyone turns around with their canister and goes, we will spray you down, son. There's no tough guys there anymore. No one wants a litre of pepper spray in their eyeball. I'd even be discriminatory and only go for one eye, so they walk around like a pirate for the rest of their life. How times have changed. Absolutely, Carl. The reason why Carl's on it is because his Xbox took its own life today. Poor bastard. Born in the 90s, and the last time I could actually have a proper great chat with a chick without her being woke was 2017. Yeah, I've got one of my favourite female friends is actually coming in New South Wales and wants me to go and see her next week. And she's a great woman. She's really worked hard. She's brought up 4 boys by herself. Fantastic. Can't wait to see her. Cameron, do you have a weapons license? Do you currently own a weapon? I think most people don't have a gun these days, Bucko, because it's just not worth it. You know, the same guy that's in a police car with a phone in his hand talking on that is giving someone a ticket for having a phone in their hand. You know, the same cop that's on a bike riding in between cars with no seatbelt on, you know, will come over and then give a ticket to someone who's going 40 kilometres an hour out of seatbelt. It's bizarre. It's weird. Weapons, my dad was too piss weak to visit us. I'm sorry for that, Harley. Everyone needs a fucking dad, mate, and everyone needs a good one, you know, and people with kids need to step up and be good dads. And that doesn't necessarily mean being a simp, but that means provide and protect for the child, you know, not necessarily the mother. Guess what, Cameron? They're advertising new gun amnesties as we speak. They're cracking down on gun ownership again. Wait. Guess what, Cameron? They're advertising new gun amnesties, as in like hand them in, Brady. It's a firearm, not a weapon. The tool should not be confused for the building it creates. Absolutely, David. And for those that grow up with weapons in the community, you know, just like all of our families did growing up, they were just a tool. You know, they're self-policed by other people that are around them that see weapons as tools. Don't point it that way. You can't come out on a hunting trip. You can't be trusted. This, that, and the other. You know, the repercussions for fucking around with weapons around those that carry weapons for a living is very fast and very brutal. Yep. Yeah, but there's a reason why USA can't be invaded, because you can never win. You know, 300 million people, 1 billion guns. You don't need a military. You don't even know where it's going to come from. Out of control. Yep. If you could have a weapon, what would you have, team? I would have an M4 tricked out, you know, with a forward hand grip. You know, it'd just have a 100-metre, you know, battle sight on it. You know, I'd love it. I'd sit there and clean it. You know? It'd be weird. Anyway, is there any other questions before we get out of here, team? What would you have? What weapon would you have? 303 with a bayonet, like the one I've got behind me there from Carl P. Thank you very much, graciously, Carl. Thank you very much. Better not do that. Might offend someone. Did you ever deploy with Sean Lanigan? I absolutely did. There, Lodi. Lano was in my platoon. Very, very good guy. One of the best men I've ever met, actually. A lovely bloke. I think we were in Alpha Company when I went with him. Or was I in Delta Company? Or was I in Bravo Company? I've been over 4 times. But Lano is an absolute great guy. And Sean Lanigan was also on Matty, his podcast, Zero Limits, as well. Yep. Matty Morris, you'll be able to see it, Sean Lanigan, in Matty Morris Zero Limits. It's a pretty long one. For those that don't know, Lano was a sniper. Yeah, a good dude. He spoke to me forever. He reckons I was one of the reasons why he went on Matty Morris. And we had good conversations after that. And his family is absolutely lovely. Great dude. Do you know him, do you, Lodi? Or is that Lano in disguise? I'm starting to waffle now, I think. Starting to waffle. Anyway, okay. Well, the questions are starting to die down. Let's get out of here. Let's send some prayers out to Carl P's Xbox. I hope he's got it going again. Thank you very much for jumping on here tonight, all of our moderators in blue. Thank you very much to all our members in green. Thank you very much to Hollywood, for doing a recruiting drive for us tonight. Very much appreciated. Brady Cars says, same in UK. They'll push any excuse to remove firearms from legitimate owners. I believe in the UK they need firearms more than anyone. Yep. And it should be the only people allowed to have them are people that are born in UK. Is there any update in transport? No. Catch you later, Kaz. By the way, I would own a bar. Oh, I love the bars. I love that. I love them. We used to, when I joined the army, we used to have basically like a heavy barrel rifles. They were called the AR 7.16. Wayne Jones, great dude. Wayne Jones owns the iFly around the corner, if we're talking about the same guy. Yeah, Stagey from Singo. Mate, I've been sending messages to you, seeing if you were okay. And now you sent me a turmeric love cow, some Valentine's Day. Thanks, Legends. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you haven't already. We're going to send you down to the White Warrior. Where is he? The Nutsu cow for Stagey. He's had an interesting time at the School of Infantry, if that is you, Stagey. I accept. Yeah, Carl, that might not be Cav, but that's Armour in the background, taking a kicking in the surf there. For those guys that don't know what Cav is Armoured Cavalry. At the moment, they're mostly using the Hawkeye in Army Reserves, and they're doing a great job, 4 dudes hanging out in a cool car that goes over 100 k's an hour, electric dash, fantastic. Salami's hanging left and right, for her pleasure. Good night, Russie. Unplug it and then plug it back in. He's tried that, Brady. He's tried it. He's a tradie. He's a smart dude. It's tragic. It's robot you. You're a dork. Mate, I will give you a call, Stagey. I want to know how you're going, mate. So I'm going to jump off here now. I've been trying to get hold of Stagey for a long time. So I'm going to jump off. I'm going to give him a phone call. Can you give us a thumbs up, Stagey, if you're good for that now? Huh? This is the benefits of being on the Bat Phone team. Starts off as a message, then turns into a conversation, and then turns into a friendship. And I feel like Stagey, like I'm his second father now. God bless him, he'd lost his father earlier this year. The Hawkeye, king of the Rodems. I could imagine, Dave, but I'd rather that than a pack on me back in the jungle, to tell you the truth. I look a bit fat in the cheeks here. Goddamn lesbian. All right, guys. Thank you very much for that, Stagey. Again, keep the lights on. If you can have a chat tomorrow, Hollywood, let us know. Or if you want to talk tonight, let us know. Exciting projects coming up. All right, team, take it easy. I'm still painting the Black Legion. You guys are starting to look good. Report of defective or unsatisfactory material. Mate, and I'll let you know something too. Holy shit. Don't look into AI. What do you call it? Illicit material. It's goddamn too good. It'll take your soul, make you feel like you've got a thumb for a doodle butt. All right, guys, take it easy. Mr. Buckaroony, he's a servant of the nation. I hope we all learned something tonight. I hope we brought the energy down. I hope China's watching this and realise, please don't sacrifice your people by starting shit with Taiwan. And guys, we live in a beautiful country. Don't let the media tell you don't. Okay? But we're going to make our own luck as well. See you later. Mucho respecto to all. Mr. Buckaroony, AI is killing the internet. It is, and it's going to realise that we're the problem real soon, Bucko. And we're going to see this generation is in for a real ride. Jenny, sounds gay. It is. It tastes like chicken. See you later, dudes. And not so cow. Rest in